Good. Yeah.
All right, so this will get started.
Okay.
So we're gonna start off with we're gonna give you some of the didactic knowledge. Like I said, we're gonna go out there and practice, and then make sure that your performance is up to par for our culture as the newcomers. Getting into it, we're going to talk a little bit about some of these legal aspects, and that would be we have our federal laws and policies, state laws, local ordinance, and then our department SOPs. Do you guys know which one can be the most stringent? That's a question for you guys.
Department.
The department, right? The SOPs can be tighter or more restricting. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a couple more slides here. But so federal laws, just like when you went to EMT class or medic class, right? It's gonna cover what anybody could possibly have to deal with in that scope, right? And then the state's gonna be a little bit more specific about what you guys are gonna have to cover and deal with in that state. And then it gets even more specific with us in our department and what we require. And there's some overlapping there. So this one, you guys can go ahead and read through that. This is just the actual revised statute. So you see on here where it says that they can't, you can't proceed past a red or stop signal or stop sign only after slowing down as necessary for safe operation. Right, that's our state policy. Our department policies are a little bit more specific. You have to stop if it's a stop sign or a red light. You have your code 3 lights on. You have to stop. That's our policy. So it's a lot more stringent. Same thing. This the prima facie speed limit. That is saying that's just legal terms for the speed limit. So it's saying you can't exceed the speed limit. Now, for the state, it doesn't give you a mile per hour. It just says can't unless you have your lights on, right? For us, it's, do you guys know what it is for us?
So 10 over.
10 miles an hour over for us. Okay, so just know that if you're going code 3, cannot go more than 10 miles an hour. Can't go more than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit if you're going code 3. And again, that's in perfect weather conditions. So this just kind of goes over what I just said, some of the exemptions, right? Making sure you have your audible signal. So in that, I guess it's a good time to talk about this. Can we do lights but no siren? Our department. Could you at your department, at your old department?
Yeah, kind of like depending on the time of day.
Okay. So our policy is we don't do that. So we can, if we're going to turn our lights on, we have to have the siren on as well. So it's either code 3, full lights and sirens, or code 1, nothing at all. Code 1, we're abiding by all the regulations. It's just we're a regular vehicle. Code 3, there's some exemptions. That's also important to know. And this is the big one. So even if we are driving code 3, we are within the 10 miles an hour over the speed limit zone. It does not exempt us from using due regard. That's for everyone, you know, outside of our vehicle. So we're not asking for the right of way. We're not forcing the right of way. We are asking for the right of way. So if people don't pull over right away, we can't just force them off the road. A lot of times where this comes up, I wish Fisher was here for this. A lot of times where this comes up is when you're passing people on like a 2-lane road and you want to jump over into oncoming traffic because they're like starting to get over, but they're not all the way over yet. So you want to be safe and give a little gap and then, you know, put a toe over. But we have to make sure that the oncoming traffic is pulling over. I'm not saying that we're driving in oncoming traffic, we're just passing a car that started to pull over, right? We need to make sure that that oncoming traffic has already yielded to us. Because that could be seen as forcing them off the road. Oh, right on time. We're talking about forcing people off the road. Hey, you got a story about that, don't you?
Yeah.
Care to share?
No.
So I'll share it for you.
I'll share, I'm sharing.
Yeah, there was, part of this is all about giving you what we've learned through the years, what we've done right and what we've done wrong. Full disclosure stuff, so that we can learn. So, this happened to someone at the department. They were responding out to the highway and we're going over, just like I said, dipping that toe over the double yellow line to pass people. Cars started to pull over, had pulled over. But there was a call made, one of the people that pulled over knew, I think it was the chief, and made a call and said they were forced off the road, reckless driving. That got passed down the chain and the said individual got spoken to about it. And he'll never do that again. But but it will get back to you, especially in a small department like this or a small city like this. When anything on the road, we're obviously have a huge billboard. Anything that happens on the road, there's a pretty good chance it's going to get back to happen. So just keep in mind. So this video, and we're not picking on any department or anything like that. I just got a lot of slides from this particular city. I am going to play this video and I want to see what you guys can pick up that you've done wrong. Multiple things wrong.
998 Williams and Main, 4 Baker 57.
Five Baker 57, send it. 5 Baker 57, send it.
What do you got?
Several things. Obviously driving more than 10. I can't see speed limit, but there's some.
Pretty fast. Right.
Passing on the right. At stop light. You didn't yield at all. Several cars making right and turn.
What else?
Yeah, first starting off, he drove through the parking lot, right through all the parking spaces. So that's violation there. We wasn't fully clearing intersections.
Good. So also another thing, did anybody notice he was driving with one hand pretty much the whole time? Yeah. So and I understand, like, you gotta, in this scenario, right, he doesn't have a medic sitting next to him or a captain sitting next to him that can tell him where he's going, so he has to do some of that. But after he figured out where he was going and he got the additional, he never went back to 2 hands on the steering wheel. Just kept one going the whole time. Right in the beginning, you heard him go, woo, right? that, what do you think, like, his mindset is probably, you know, amped up, I guess what I'm trying to say is he's probably way up here. Then when he got on scene, did you notice there was already other vehicles on scene? Seemed like a pretty calm and stable scene. So was it really necessary? Had he gotten in an accident? Did you see him fly by a bicyclist too that was in the road? Had he gotten in an accident there, I don't know what legal standing he would have as far as like true emergency. That will come up, but yeah, it's like. Yep.
So this is about habits, right? And when we're at work and we're driving these apparatus, we're not driving our POV, okay? This individual obviously has built the habits that he has, and there's nothing on the radar or nothing saying that we're going to this, but there's a lot of agencies that do have recording devices in the cabin. And so what we want you guys to do as new employees is develop those good habits now, so that if the insurance companies come out, our insurance company says, hey, we're now going to be putting cameras in all the rigs or these different things, it's not some catastrophic shift. So it's just about always thinking, due regard, what's the policy say, how am I operating this vehicle in traffic, and what habits am I creating? Just be thinking about that as you guys watch all these videos.
It's like I alluded to earlier, this 10 miles an hour for the speed limit, that's in clear dry roads. So again, if you're involved in an accident, there's a thing that's called vicarious liability. That is basically saying that if you as the driver get in an accident, the person that's in that right seat there, the medic in your guys' case, or the captain in the engine, is also liable, also negligent. Okay. Us as driver instructors, also negligent. The department also will be at fault there. So it's not just you, and that's part of why we're doing this, part of why we're doing the cone course and why we do it annually, is not just to check the box for insurance, but it's actually to make sure that you guys are up to what is acceptable for us here at Sedona. So once we trust you guys, because we're putting our necks out there as instructors, right? We're not going to sign off on anything that we're not comfortable putting our name on to eventually have to defend in court someday. Right? So it's a big deal. Through emergency, like I said before, if he gets pulled, that cop gets pulled into court. So this is a high probability of death or serious injury to an individual or property loss. And the actions by the emergency vehicle driver may reduce the seriousness of the situation. Right, so that situation seemed pretty calm. I don't know that would have been a true emergency, deemed a true emergency by years. Due regard, we talked about that a second ago. That's the definition here. Performing as safely and as responsibly or reasonably careful person would under the same conditions. Excessive speed can be considered a breach of due regard. So that's why we limit it to 10 miles an hour, even though the state doesn't put a mile per hour limit. Yet that cop was driving more than 10 miles an hour. That might be his department policy. However, if it's deemed excessive by a reasonably careful person, that could be seen as a breach of due regard. And also, if you guys are in an accident, they're going to pull all our driving policies as well. So they're going to be able to hammer you at due regard. They'll get you on excessive speed. They'll get you on breaking our driving policies. There's a lot of different things that they can really get you on. So make sure that you have that in mind as you guys start to go out through your career, and especially when you're starting out. You'll get comfortable. You're going to be driving that AMBO or engine, for you guys AMBO, for a while. Don't fall into bad habits, like he was saying. Start your habits right from the jump. This is Phoenix Regional Volume 2. Driving Code 3 does not absolve the driver of any responsibility to drive with due caution. The driver of the emergency vehicle is responsible for a safe operation at all times. This is the fun little video too.
What the f? Yeah, I did.
Just getting out like nothing's wrong. We're here. So what do you think caused that?
It's probably distracting looking at.
Could be one. Any other theories? So it wasn't that he was distracted, although that could have been. Some people think maybe he was trying to give his captain a three-sided view, which we always strive to do, right? Of the building on fire. This one actually was brake fade. So on the engines, right, their air brakes, this was actually a pretty significant grade from where the station was. And they were getting after it. This was 2 minutes in. There was another company actually on scene already. But they were just on the brakes a lot. And this will come up when we start talking about our water center stuff in 6 months. It'll make a little bit more sense. But essentially they glazed over the drum brakes and they had no more brakes. And so when they got to the scene, couldn't do anything. So as the driver operator, right, you're responsible for your apparatus. There's a lot of people standing around. I would say that could be pretty concerning if you're not aware of the status of your brakes. I talked about this earlier. All lights and sirens have to be on for code-free driving. Good. So here's another question. I just read you the policy, right? This is our Sedona policies, all lights and sirens, code 3 or code 1. Do we ever break policy here in Sedona and do just like? Yes, yes, we do. But understand, as a driver operator, if something happens, you're sticking your neck out there. That's you clearly breaking policy. So yeah, your captain might have told you, he could get in trouble or she could get in trouble as well. You as a driver operator are going to be the primary one. So proceed with caution if that's the thing that you're going to do. Saying to disobey your captain, I'm just saying maybe have that conversation. So yeah, at what point are you helping or hurting by having your license there? You're stuck in a traffic jam and the cars literally have nowhere to go. Are you actually helping by having that on? I think people know that there's an engine behind them trying to get somewhere. You know what I mean? You don't gotta lay on the horn a bunch, keep the siren wailing when you're in a standstill and the people can't go anywhere. So we have to be careful, especially here at these roundabouts, with what's called pushing them into traffic. So we don't want to push the people at the roundabout into the roundabout. Because if they get in an accident trying to get out of our way, then that would fall back on us for pushing them into traffic. Does that make sense? Beat things to death here. When approaching the intersections with the right of way, drivers should not be exceeding the posted speed limit. So that's, you know, any of the intersections that we come across that have crosswalks in that, you really shouldn't be speeding, even in going 10 over, because you don't know if somebody's paying attention or not, or if you're making that turn, making sure that you're clearing that crosswalk as well as all the traffic, especially here in town. Because there'll be people not paying attention on their headsets, on, you know, anything. Little kids, they see the walk sign and they just go. So make sure that you're clearing all the crosswalks. So on our center lane or oncoming, our policy is that you can't go any faster than 20 miles an hour, which is super important today and for the rest of your career. 20 miles an hour. It's the fastest you can go. Exposing traffic.
Did you want to say
center
all
lane.
three? All three speeds they need to know?
I think we just covered 10 miles an hour over and like I said earlier, complete stop at all the stop signs and red lights prior to proceeding through and making sure that you're clearing all of the lanes before you go through the intersection if it's a intersections here aren't as big a deal as like a big city where there's a lot of traffic at these intersections, but here in West Sedona is where it comes to mind specifically. There is a ton of traffic pretty much all day, every day now. It used to be in seasons, but now it's pretty much all throughout the year. All of these side streets have businesses, not all of them, but a lot of the side streets have businesses down them. So there's a lot of traffic. So the highest percentage of accidents with emergency vehicles is in intersections. That's why there's so much emphasis on that in our policy. Be very careful at intersections. Push. Very important. Intersection, the vehicle stuck into a complete stop. We kind of just talked about that. So negative right of way would be like if you're coming up, you're on the side street coming up to 89A. There's a stop sign or a stoplight there. That's a negative right of way for you being on the side street. If you're on 89A going past the side street, and there's no light or anything else, that's not a negative right of way. Is that clear? So for any stop signs, yield signs, stop lights, that's a negative right of way. So including the roundabouts here. Account for oncoming traffic in all lanes. And the important thing on that is if you're coming up from a side street, there are there's 2 lanes going each direction in a center lane. So if you're coming up from a side street and traffic is stopped in one of those and the other lane is clear, you have to make sure that it actually is clear, because it might appear to be clear and you see the first guy closest to you stop, but he could be hiding another vehicle or a biker or something like that on the next one. Same thing if you're turning and you see traffic stops, like if you're going through the intersection and you're going to turn and you see 1 lane or 2 lanes stopped, make sure there's nobody riding their bike or something like that down the side. It doesn't because they think you're going to brake. So just be careful for that. This is CCV, so this doesn't actually have audio. It's not supposed to.
15 hours. You see him moving?
Yeah,
there
you'll
or
see in
something?
a second.
Fox man.
It will be here.
Oh, it's off.
I know. It's off. I know. You guys catch that? Went from right to left. These guys are stopped. These guys are hidden. That's what I'm talking about as far as clearing all of the lanes. So what he should have done was pull up, stop, and make sure that next lane was clear before he kept going. And that will matter a lot more here for us. Mostly from the center. But any intersection. So as far as our dispatch, we just went to a new dispatch. Now they either dispatch as code 1 or code 3. There's no more Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta that you're familiar with. So it's a new algorithm, new line of questioning. And I don't know if you guys have found that too, but sometimes the code 3, I think, versus code 1 is a little bit better than it was with the other system, but it's still not perfect. It is, I think, an improvement, but it's still not perfect. There's still stuff that we get dispatched code 1. Like, why is this not a code 3? And there's stuff that gets dispatched code 3. And I'm like, I don't think this is going to be a code 3. Really warrant a code 3 response. So not everything that we go on, as a matter of fact, most of the stuff we go on isn't going to be what would be deemed as a true emergency by a reasonable person. So keep that in mind. And also, I don't know if it's a test question or not, but who can you as the driver operator downgrade from code 3 response? Yes. Okay. And yes, the answer is yes, you can. Right. So if the conditions aren't clear, like the road's wet, stuff like that, you absolutely can. If there's a lot of traffic and it's not actually helping, not getting you anywhere, then absolutely you can downgrade. You'll probably need to let your medic know, but you can downgrade. We'll get into a little bit more of like when we downgrade stuff later on too. So some of the lower priority calls that you'll see us run. These typically will get dispatched at special duties. Some of them might be like code 1, like this BLS EMS call will just be a code 1. But a lot of these dispatched for us as special. Negligence. I kind of talked about being guilty of negligence earlier, but the definition is any action which violates a standard of practice. So if you're speeding and you're going over 10 miles an hour, they're going to say that you're negligent. You're not operating with due regard because that's not the standard of practice. Communication. So as you two are medics, so just know that for when you're in the back with a patient, the EMT driving or whoever's driving should not be on the phone. If when we radio our mileage, it should be before we leave. So as the EMT should be radioing the mileage before we leave. And if sometimes the hospital will ask to repatch for something, every effort should be made for you guys to do the repatch, which I don't think is an issue. But if for some reason you guys are elbow deep in something and can't repatch, you can ask the EMT to repatch. But they have to be hands-free. So they're not going to be using the cell phone that's on the ambo, holding it up to you or whatever. So just know that, especially Kevin, for you, yes, you can repatch, but every effort should be made for your medic to repatch. And just get in the habit of giving the mileage before you even leave the scene. So you don't have to think about being distracted or driving like that.
Which brings me to my question. While driving the apparatus, you see an accident on the road. What traffic do you call over the radio?
Priority traffic.
Correct. Fire traffic. We don't call emergency traffic.
You don't.
In case you don't know me, I'm Ryan Fisher. You might recognize me from earlier in the academy. You don't. That was my twin brother. This is very dry stuff, so we're going to try to have fun. I sound like Ehlers after the military because he probably yelled a lot. That's what happened to me. So, right? Okay. He said hit butt. It didn't work. Motor vehicle safety. Please follow along if they everyone else on the computer watching this. Can they see the video or they just hear us?
They should see the video.
Awesome.
Two fire trucks crashed head-on in the 15,000 block of HH Highway. Here's a look from SkyTracker. There are reports of injuries. Eric Holland with the Platte County Sheriff's Office joins us on the phone with more on this. Captain, could you tell us what happened here?
We had two fire trucks from Central Platte Fire responding to a structure fire in the 15,000 block of HH Highway. A little bit after 4 o'clock this morning, they collided head-on in the area of the fire.
And so they were both heading from different directions, if we understand this right. All involved, are they all firefighters? We're hearing 5 injuries?
We have 5 injured. They're all firefighters that were on the 2 trucks. One has been transported by air ambulance. The other 4 were by ground ambulance. Their injuries are reported as severe, but I'm being told none of them are life-threatening.
Wow. So both of these fire trucks, they were coming from different areas, from different departments. Is that right?
It's the same department.
Okay.
They were coming from opposite directions on the highway.
All right. And they were going to this fire that was located right there on Highway HH. You say that the injuries are serious. So tell us about now this fire. Were they able to get other additional crews out to that scene?
Yes.
Wow, look at this.
We had some other fire units respond in, a mutual aid from Camden Point Fire. The structure fire was put out. There were no injuries at that. It was a fire on the deck.
All right, Captain, I think we're looking at the images from SkyTracker here, and it does appear to be a road of some sort.
Well, this is where you'll pause the video for discussion with your crews. Welcome back. What did they do wrong? What were they doing?
Operating
Wrong. What were they doing?
being negligent.
Yeah, right, like they were racing, right? So somebody didn't want to stop the other person, so they obviously hit. Which brings me to my next test question. What do all drivers need to check before putting the apparatus into drive? Before putting the apparatus into drive, before I leave the station, what should everyone have on?
Seatbelt.
Seatbelts. Always check for seatbelts. Okay? Because how many were injured? 5 severe. Can you guess they were wearing their seatbelts? Probably not.
Hey, Ryan, real quick. All the crews that are watching this at their stations know this. For you guys, our big area that we watch out for this exact scenario to unfold is right about Airport Road, where area 400 and 100 are together. So anything up Soldiers Pass, where Station 1 crews, Station 4 crews are going to be responding. Based on the time of day, based on traffic, you absolutely could be faced with a scenario like this. So this particular instance, it's difficult to armchair quarterback or watch a little snippet of the news and know exactly what was going on. We don't know what was going on. It's a fire on a deck. Again, everybody in the cab needs to be communicating. You as the driver operator, we want to get there and we want to be safe while we do it. And yeah, you're going to hear, let's beat the other crews, but just understand that the implications to the department, aside from life safety, you got 2 apparatus that are arguably totaled. And if you guys don't know what that equates to, Type 1 engines, what, $1 million now? And we're on a 4 to 5 year waiting list. So that's a big deal. If that happened here in Sedona, again, the most important thing to us is that we're safe, that the citizens that are driving on the roads are safe, but there's also a huge financial impact. And then we're without emergency apparatus for years, potentially. So
Plus the original emergency.
exactly.
Where that won't happen is anywhere in Station 6 there. Do we need to pause for discussion or? Okay. All right, in the back of an ambulance, should we wear seatbelts?
Yes.
Yes, especially our occupant or our patient. They're 22 times more likely to be ejected. 50% of people who die not wearing seatbelts. Rejected. Pretty serious numbers here. Which is why, what do we always check before we leave anywhere? Seatbelts. $29 fatal crashes involving an ambulance. National average. I think Isaiah hit it, but what do we not want to be on while driving? Oh, any kind of phone. All right. Hot quiz, hot shot. Which workers are the most dangerous drivers? Age ranges, 2024, under 20. Guesses.
24 to 34.
24, 34.
2024.
Same, okay. Everyone agrees? Thank you, I appreciate that. Why would it be old people? I can say that because I'm old.
Licensing.
Yeah, exactly. I guarantee it's during dry, normal weather, and they just get complacent. I'm really good. Plus you get to that age and you're now doing your nails while you're driving, you're on the phone, you're texting. You get comfortable. But don't get comfortable. In fact, if I could give any driving tips, in an ambulance, if you're driving, get your back off the seat. Because in an ambulance, where's the medic and the patient in the back compared to the butt of the driver? If I stand in like an ambulance, am I going to be taller than the driver? Yeah. So their center of gravity is way higher. So if you're in a seat and you're driving, you won't feel your center of gravity. If you take your back off the seat on turns, You feel everything they are because you're using muscles to support you, like they will be in the back. Forces, got velocity, friction, inertia, momentum, centrifugal force. Any questions with forces? We all understand what centrifugal force is. Good. All right. Can't see any hands in the computer, so just move on. Wait a minute, we'll move on. Why are water tenders so dangerous?
Fire center of gravity.
Here you go. How come? What's back there? A lot of water, a ton of water, and it's much higher than the center of gravity. So all turns must be slow. Can we drive code 3? No, don't drive code 3. Don't drive code 3. This will be a separate class. I'm reviewing for everyone else, so you might as well answer my questions. That's why we don't let newer drivers drive the water tender, because they are the most dangerous. Like, what forces should you consider while entering a turn? Do I need to go back? 1, 16 here.
Centrifugal force.
1.
Thank you.
Said it weird. What else? Momentum, velocity, all of them, right? Because on a turn, when do we want to stop? For the turn, because as soon as we hit the brake, where's all the momentum and weight of the vehicle go? Onto the front tires. And we turn the wheel, and where's now all the weight and momentum of the vehicle go? The outside tire, which has a what square of actual friction on the road? What, like a foot? The whole thing will be on a foot. So we try to stop prior to and off the brake, so we enter the turn level. And we turn and accelerate the apex of the turn. There was a story time. There was a captain, I'm not going to say his name, Everline, but we were driving. When I say we, I was driving down 17, doing 80, and he missed the turn. He said, "Oh crap, you were supposed to turn there." So I slammed on the brake as hard as I could. All the momentum of the vehicle went forward, and I missed the turn. And I saw the look of fear in, I don't want to say his name, Everline. When he thought I was going to jam the wheel, because I was just about to miss the turn. But on the turnoffs, where those white lanes are, is there more asphalt past the white lines? Yeah, all the time. So it's okay to go past white lines. We're not coloring. Not my favorite thing in the world. So once I slowed down enough, I got off the brake, and then I made the turn safely. He had to change his pants, and he said, "That was really good, dude. I thought I messed up and we were going to die, but nice catch." Sometimes I make mistakes. Some stories. Sometimes I do.
The names were changed in my story.
Me too. Don't worry, buddy. Any questions with like laws? I'm going to breeze through these because I don't know, we're all past high school, right? Questions with Newton laws, forces act upon, greater force to stop, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I see someone on the computer not understanding. No? All right, we're good. Greater force friction must be good. You guys look confused. That's your normal look?
Normal face.
That's your normal face. You're laughing. Here's a J turn. Do we know what a J turn is? Cops do it all the time. They reverse, slam on a turn, and then forward. It's 180. Watch the tires. It's coming. Give a second. All right. This is a really good video. It's 35 miles an hour in a regular POV cop car. What should we be checking on our weekly checks? Tire pressures. Get the little tire pressure gauge out, check it, get used to it. Can we fill it? Do we have compressors at the station? What if there's an engine where the compressors go to maybe 100? Most engines that need tires that go up to 120, specific fronts. Do we have anything in our fleet that will allow us to fill those up? Yes, mechanic, Mike. I just learned this. You can call Mike, everyone at home. Call Mike, text Mike, he'll come out with his truck. He has a compressor that'll go over 120. Newton's 18th law. Someone read it. All right. Third law. Yeah, I'm excited. We're getting the total stopping distance. As new drivers in Sedona, does it snow and get icy and cold?
Yes.
Yes. What aspect of the mountain, side of the mountain, will there be the most shade?
North side.
North side. So if you're coming across a blind curve on the north side during winter at any time of day, what should you expect on that north side?
Ice.
Ice. So just be cautious on any blind curves on the north side. It matters how much these apparatus weigh. Tons, right? 40 tons. It's a lot. And they're all work based on like that things come up. You see the next. Sorry. Okay, when we're stopped and waiting on a hill, we have a high kinetic energy. By the time we're on the bottom, we're at the max. We start to slow down. The roller coaster, almost like the drawing I drew. Okay, here's some crazy math for you. 4,000-pound vehicle traveling at 10 miles an hour possesses 432,000 foot-pounds of energy. When you double the speed, what's that called? I can't remember the word. It's not double it's what? Exponential, yeah. Increases the weight of the vehicle. It's a big word, sorry. Oh, look, quadruples in there. Here it is. 35 square inches of passenger tire. You got 90 square inches on a fire truck. If the tire is underinflated by 6 psi, the deflection in both tread, surface, and sidewalls will result in poor handling. Just like we saw in the J-turn, 6 psi. Maybe you remember that in your passenger vehicles too. Let's get back to gas mileage. Breakover angle. These apparatus are very long, some of them over 40 feet, some of them like 60 feet. So in between the tires, it's called the breakover angle. What we worry about hitting is now our step chocks. because somebody moved. You come back, it's fine. Okay, what are these called? Thank you. Yes, get used to them, get looking at them, because within like 10 seconds, we should see a lot of these gauges activate, specifically the oil, and make sure they come up to pressure. If they don't, what should we do?
Start checking fluids.
Yeah, turn off the engine, right? Turn off the engine, go check fluids, something's wrong. So don't just hit drive and go, like make sure everything looks good before you go. Catastrophic failure means what to our apparatus? Stop. Yeah, next. Operator negligence. Failing to inspect a vehicle thoroughly, which we will do at 360 when we get outside. Is whose fault? When do we do it?
When do we do what?
A quick inspection, any inspection or apparatus. Just a little pause, we'll let everyone discuss.
Weeklies, dailies.
I said pause, no, it's fine. Go ahead. Weekly, daily, you're right. Sorry, guys. Yes, you're right. Daily, so like every day. So day 2, come out and check the apparatus. If you haven't driven at night, something may have leaked after your last call, air pressure's low, whatever, just go in the morning, start the apparatus, make sure everything's working. Should the daily check should take you 5 minutes. Specialist engineers, we should be checking our apparatus because it's the one thing we do is check our apparatus. Okay? Every morning and a weekly we dive into crazier stuff. What? Oh yeah, we have a thing. This guy who's in charge of it, he's just anal about it. We no longer do paperwork. It's an app on your phone called PS Tracks. Did they get it? You guys get it?
Yeah, should have gotten it.
Yes. If you don't have it at home, those viewers at home, you should probably download it. It's all on there. Every apparatus, every station, wherever you're at. If something goes wrong, like you taking the apparatus out of service, who should we tell? You don't know his name?
Unreal.
Unreal. You just
Everything is good. Yeah.
engineer more.
Email.
Email, text, phone call.
I need the license plate and the apparatus. So don't tell me, hey, our engine at station 4 is out of service. I need the actual license plate.
Can we do routine? His cell phone number will be, did you give it already?
Nope.
We'll give it at the end of the, not mine, his. We'll give his phone number quickly. You want it now?
Nope.
Let's do it now. For those at home, you guys say it out loud. Isaiah Moore, common spelling. His number 734-904-8928. I'll say it again for those at home. 734-904-8928. If you have any questions with engineering, yes, tracks, anything you want to come to me about, go to him. Text him. Tell everything.
Or just want to talk.
You just normally get someone else to 2 o'clock in the morning, you're driving home. I get it. He does too. He'll answer. Routine maintenance, like we said, daily. Do we know how the engines run really well? So if the catalytic converter is broken or the headlight fluid's leaking, do we know how to fix that? Me neither. So if something's wrong, take note. If it's too dirty or it's too clean, it means something's leaking and there's collecting dirt or something's rubbing and it's making it really shiny. Take a note, snap a picture, send it to Mike. Tell your captain, tell up the chain to get it fixed. Okay, we know how to look at damaged stuff, belts. We know how to look at batteries, make sure there's nothing wrong, but to diagnose the engine is not our job. We can't even replace a bulb anymore. It's all LED lights. So we have to run up the chain, let Mike know, and he'll make a note when that thing goes in for service. We'll replace what we can. Cool?
Yes, sir.
Don't have to be a mechanic, because I'm not. Vehicle inspections. What's the difference between an inspection and the 360? This is where I'll pause for those at home. Welcome back. Please continue.
360, you're doing a visual on all 6 sides.
What do you mean 6 sides?
The front, back, left, right, bottom, and top of the apparatus.
I'm impressed. That was very good. You smile. You don't have the top. Huh?
You get top of the ambo.
The ladders before, we had plenty of ladders at the firehouse.
Let's check it.
There were 24 on there.
So that's real quick, right? Like we go to Safeway, do a quick 360. What's an inspection?
Looking for abnormalities.
That's a normal daily inspection. Do it once every day. And then a weekly check would be even more thorough. This is called pre-trip. Call it 360 here. Is it important to keep your apparatus clean?
Yes.
Yes. Why? What's that giant word say on the side of the apparatus? Sedona Fire, right? It's us. So if we look dirty, I understand it's raining, I get that. But do we wash with dish soap? Do we wash our apparatus with dish soap? No.
Not at all.
We've got a guy
Not
who
anymore.
gets very anal about his vehicle. It's somewhere around here. I think it's parked over here. Don't touch his windshield wipers, no matter what. You are not supposed to use any other dish soap than the regular soap that is what's it called? You don't know.
Car wash?
Car wash soap.
Just
Because
car wash soap.
What does it do?
It strips your-
Strips your wax.
Part of the wax.
Nobody wants to re-wax vehicles. I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah. You're on a roll.
We're not gonna wait. So if you gotta pee, too late. Primary goals for routine planning. Who plans the route?
Captain of the medic.
Captain, right? Medic should look, whoever's not driving should look at the map in case the captain never gets it wrong, but in case the captain, the driver misses a turn because the captain obviously didn't tell him, because it's not our fault either. It's like, dude. Then medic should be on top of it and know where to go. So just get used to that now.
Real quick, Fish. So as probationary firefighters, you guys are gonna have a component of your task book that's gonna quiz you on the major arteries in Sedona. You know, obviously, Kevin, you've worked here before, so there's certain response areas you know. For those of us listening on the computers, there actually was a day where all we had was map books. And you would have to go through and route via the map book. And now we have active, you know, some people use Google Maps. We've got I Spy. We have a lot of different tools. You want to know where you're going before you leave. Okay, as a driver operator, it's good to have a basic knowledge. Like as an engineer, I'll pull up the call and look at the map. And just as simple as knowing if you're going to go right or left out here at Station 1 on 89A, or, oh, okay, until you get the different area numbers memorized, it's good to have a general idea. You guys are going to be driving the ambulance, and what's going to happen is you're going to kind of fall into complacency of like always following the engine. And that's okay. But there's going to be times where when you pull up on scene, the engine may bump off down a side street, or you're going to find your engineer may pull ahead of the address and leave the address for you. Don't always rely on that. You want to know where you're going. You want to know the street number. And there's also going to be times where being on an ambulance, you may be responding into a different area. And so for those of you guys that are paramedics, understand that you're going to be needing to route your driver. Okay, so I guess the takeaway is like, don't become complacent of just always depending on the engine. Know the street, know the address, have an idea. If you guys are paramedics, help your drivers. That way we can get to the patients quickly and safely.
And one thing I did want to tag onto that, if you're pulling up like on active and it shows you the route, don't just blindly follow that route. Like actually look at it and verify that it is taking you to the right place. Because there are places in the district, I know at least in Station 3, where it'll route you onto a golf course for a specific address. You're like, there's no road there, but it'll tell you to take this turn and then go up. So if you weren't paying attention, you'd slow down and start to turn, and then you'd have no idea where you're supposed to be going. So just when you're looking at it for you guys, when you're looking at active and you're looking at the route, just make sure that it is actually taking you to the address. And if you see any abnormalities where it's not taking you to the address, you need to let somebody know so that we can get it fixed. But there are places that exist that will be wrong.
At least, very least, memorize your area numbers. Generally speaking, the 89A and 179, odds and evens are on the opposite side of those streets. And the numbers go up from Station 3 all the way to Station 5 up King. They always go up. So just memorize that. That way you can have at least an idea of where we're going. We do these routes to minimize the travel, crash exposure, blah, blah, blah. What should you do when driving code 3 through school zone? That's a question.
Slow down the school zone speed limit.
Number 1, slow down, speed limit. What do you do if you're driving code 3 now? What?
Shut down the lights and sirens.
Why do we do that? Why do we shut down both?
Number one, distraction to the kids. Number two, it could cause them to run out and want to see the apparatus.
One thing I haven't seen are suicidal kids that run out into the street. I have seen a lot of idiot drivers that don't know what to do and panic when we drive code 3. So if they see lights on while we're driving through a school zone, they might stop right without looking and hit a kid. So if we can remember that, you guys got it right on, but that's how I remember. I don't want to cause anyone else to hit somebody. So we turn off all lights, all sirens, drive the speed limit through the school zone, once past the school zone, go 3 again. What happens if we get to a bus stop? Hint, hint, test question.
Shut down away from the bus.
What can we leave on?
We're stopped. Leave our lights on.
Just leave our lights on.
Just to clarify, he said bus stop. What he's talking about is a school bus that stopped with their lights on and the stop sign out. Okay, that's what he's referring to, not just any regular like bus stop. Okay, and for everybody that's listening online, we're talking about school buses.
It's my fault. I don't like English. Okay, so why do we leave the lights on at a bus stop? Stopped bus.
Let the bus driver know that once the kids are safely across the road or inside the bus, to pull to the side so we can pass.
Correct. Just to let them know we're still in a hurry. Cool. Who else can we listen to? Not just the bus driver. We can also listen to another entity that tells us it's clear to go on.
Road guard.
Police. Once you get to know your area, I can still follow the route. A lot of errors. Did you go over accidents?
Yeah.
What's the number one problem with accidents? Number one ingredient for accidents. You drive too fast. Speed is always an issue in every accident. It doesn't matter what accident, speed is. So just slow down and you'll save yourself everything. Okay? Do we have any bridges in Sedona that we will drive under? We didn't pause, they're just thinking. That's a no. No, we don't have a lot of bridges that we drive under. We have the 17, that's about it. Do we have bridges we drive over? Do we have to worry about any of them? Which ones? Any on the main drags, any on the main roads, Bisbee Bridge, any of those we have to worry about?
And then 179 by select property.
None of those we have to worry about, because they're all commercial grade. So much bigger vehicles drive over that than we are. Where will we work?
The side roads, there's
Yeah.
a,
Private roads, any private roads where it's built out of logs. Where it's concrete with rock. That's weird. Oh, do we need to pause?
No.
Tactical?
Pause now.
Hi, bud. Say hi, bud. Say hi.
I didn't pay attention to what was going on. So.
I'm teaching. I don't pay attention. We are being recorded, just so you know, in case you want to take this.
Okay, I'll take it. What shift and station are you two at? I know I could have looked.
Okay, breaks.
what's your,
Hope everyone's back. Sorry. Continue. Yeah, so any private bridges. Especially in area 500, there will be a lot of them. Any low hanging ceilings?
yes,
Where?
some of the resorts,
Hospital, we don't need to worry about. They should be to our sides. Maybe not the apparatus, the fire engine, but you're not driving them. They will be. But yeah, hotels, resorts, some private homes. So what do we want to be cautious of? Huh?
Height clearance.
Yeah, drive underneath, right? High clearances, also trees, tree branches. Some of these private roads. On a lot of our apparatus, on the front dashboard or on the upper dashboard or the somewhere, it should say how tall the apparatus is. So when you see the clearance, you can make a quick note. A lot of these videos look like the same as we've watched before, but they're not, I promise. Bridge is burned down, it's no longer. Guys need a break? We're good? I didn't hear anything from the computers, so I'm just keep going. Unless you want to do it.
I'll go, whatever.
Very well, everybody.
Hey, good morning. On lesson 4. I'm not gonna read the slides to you guys, so we'll just give you a few seconds, review the slides, and we'll talk about it.
It's, you also have to have it on the computer, your mouse. So if you mute the mic, bring the mouse back and click that computer screen.
You're good. Just stuff.
Yeah, most of us are idiots.
Okay, so speed and reaction time. Our list here. Not a test question, but what you want to be thinking about is the time it takes you to recognize that you need to stop, transfer your foot from the gas pedal to the brake pedal, actually apply the brake pedal. Talking about 3/4 of a second to 1.5 seconds just for that. This is not accounting how long it's going to take you to stop your apparatus. So if you ever hear the term like covering the brake, you may do this driving your own personal vehicles. If you're in heavy traffic and you're anticipating a car may jam in front of you or slow down, you're gonna like preemptively take your foot off the gas pedal and cover the brake, right? This reduces your reaction time. It's a lot more important when you're driving an apparatus that could be north of 40,000 pounds. What I was just talking about, and we'll get into some data that shows based on the speed you're traveling and the weight of the apparatus that you're operating, how long it's going to take for that vehicle to stop. And like it's been mentioned previous, that's perfect road conditions, right? Perfectly dry, good visibility. So if you look at this table, the car versus an apparatus basically doubles, right? So all of operations will watch this video and they may know, and if you guys have experience on the fire service, you may know. But if you haven't driven, your typical car is going to be 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 pounds. Unless you're driving a pool vehicle, nothing we have is that light. So just look at the apparatus side and just be thinking, if you're accustomed to how long it takes you to stop your car, it's going to be an amazing feeling when you think that you have that distance trying to stop an emergency apparatus and you realize it's going to be double that. And like Engineer Fisher said, you look at the left column and you take a look at the speed. We're going to be going 30 to 40 miles an hour most times. If you take a look at what it takes to stop your vehicle, it's like triple that on an emergency apparatus. Engineer Fisher already mentioned this, but speed is a major contributing factor. And you'll see that in the accidents that we respond to as well. So is speed.
One thing I want to go over real quick is the total stopping distance. Test question. He said it, just went over it, but it is perception of your recognition that there is something I need to stop for. Then there is my reaction time. and the actual stopping distance of the vehicle. Those three things make up total stopping distance.
We'll watch this video here in a second. We get employees that come to us from all over the state, sometimes different parts of the country. If you haven't driven on snow or icy roads, it's fine. You're in good company. Most people in Arizona haven't. Think about working in Sedona. We get individuals from all over the country and all over the world. A lot of them, you'll see it. They don't even know how to navigate a roundabout. They certainly don't know how to drive in adverse conditions. It's pretty simple. Just remember, if you're losing traction, just take your foot off the gas pedal. Okay, all of our vehicles have got ABS brakes that are going to kind of pulsate. Those are designed to not have you lock up when you slam on the brakes. A lot of those features go away in snow or ice. So if you're losing traction, you should take your foot off the gas pedal, allow the engine to slow the vehicle down, and then just you're lightly pressing the brakes, right? The other thing to keep in mind is if you for whatever reason, if you kind of veer off of the road or you go onto an uneven surface, this may be the video that's coming up. I can't recall. We'll check it out. But just keep in mind when you go off of the road and then you come back onto the road, you don't want to overcorrect your steering. That's how you'll roll the vehicle. Just gradually bring it back onto the roadway, because when your tires make contact with that road surface again, then it's really going to catch. You're going to move fast.
Oh yeah, boys. This is real deal shit. That's the street, boys. It's in West Lynn.
What's that called? Nailing it, right?
Yeah, so it is good driving. Okay, the operator avoided rolling the apparatus, but what did we see? We saw speed. We saw following too close. If you're in the ambulance, you just want to be cautious about your following distance. And we already talked about, I'm not sure if there's going to be more slides that refer to your audible warning devices. And once you get up over 45, 50 miles an hour, you're going to be outrunning that audible device, and you'll see it. People, vehicles are built with more sound deadening material. Occupants inside their vehicles, it's quiet. They may have their stereo cranked up. You'll see people with headphones on. They're not going to hear us, right? So you can outrun your sirens, and you also want to be cautious of the distance that you're following the engine. And when you're driving an ambulance, the engine's going to 9 times out of 10 be going before you. It's big, it's visible. They've got an air horn. They've got a mechanical siren, very loud. Cars are going to pull over and yield, and then they may not be aware that the ambulance is following. So don't just presume when you're driving the ambulance that all of the traffic's going to hold for you. That's kind of a tidbit about the auditory warning devices that we have, the sirens. But also what you saw in that video was just excessive speed, and the second apparatus was following too close. So they probably didn't have a clear view that the street was going to turn. So that's kind of a near miss, dicey. So this is what I was talking about a few minutes ago. Vehicle left the road surface, overcorrected. You can see the skid marks. Looked like they did some landscaping there with the trees. And you can see off in the distance there on the left side of that slide is where the engine finally came to a resting spot. This is what we touched on.
What happens during an overcorrection? So you now have one tire off the road. So you slam left. Where's all the friction and weight of that vehicle now?
Shifting
Huh? Shifting to where?
to the opposite side.
The outside tire, which is normally on or off the road. No, when we're overcorrecting. So we went off the road, right? And we go, oh shit, I'm off the road. So I slam the wheel to get back on the road. But where all that weight shifted the outside tire, which is off the road, which has way less friction than the road, right? Surface. So we're skidding in dirt until we hit pavement. And once we hit that friction, that's when the car goes the actual way the tires are facing. So that's why overcorrection is so bad. And like you said, you just slow down. Once you're at a normal space, then you drive back home. Look.
Yeah, but then I needed to get my phone a long time ago.
But
Oh! That was my phone.
Still look down.
okay, so I don't want the video to play again, so I advanced the slide. So some of them you saw road conditions were a factor. In every single one, it was just lack of attention. Hopefully, we're able to avoid a lot of these situations because we're not going to be on our cell phone, right? I think in most of those, they were on their cell phone or they were talking. Like Engineer Fisher noted, a surprising amount of time of their eyes being off the road. And if we wanted to get crazy, you can do some math, traveling at X amount of speed over X amount of seconds of not paying attention, like how far you're going to travel. So just stay alert. Stay focused on what you're doing, stay off your phone, be aware of the road conditions. A lot of that stuff can be avoided. So this is just step by step of what we've been talking about. It's going to be uncomfortable if your tires lose contact with the surface of the road. And I think an instinct would be, oh, let me correct this and bring the apparatus right back onto the road. Number one thing is slow down. And then just slowly bring it back onto the road. It's important to know, you're most likely to encounter a collision at an intersection. That's where you want to just be on high alert.
Engine 74.
We didn't even check the intersection.
Okay, so what did we see?
Blew right through the light, not even slowing down.
Yeah, I mean, look, the engines have a higher profile. So we saw that other video where our friends in law enforcement didn't clear every lane of traffic. They're in passenger vehicles, essentially not going to have as high of a profile, but we don't want to rely on that. And then, of course, based on our policy, that apparatus should have come to a complete stop. That red light gets treated like a stop sign. Clear the right, clear the left, and then proceed through it, right?
Are we gonna do that every time?
Yes.
Yes, totally. Especially when the engine clears all intersections and then goes, the ambulance probably not just gonna drive right through. Right? Okay, just understand, policy states we stop. So even if you go through it, understand we're breaking policies. Sometimes it's clear and we can go. Understand we're breaking policy. If something happens, whose fault is it? Right?
Here's the reality of the situation. We're the professionals. We're the ones that have training. You're going to see amazing things out on the roadways. People don't know how to act. Yes, the law states that they should be pulling over to the right and bringing their vehicle to a stop to yield the right of way. Sure. But again, in a place like Sedona, where it's a national and an international destination, we don't know what we're dealing with. And so as professional driver operators, we just have to anticipate in any given situation. You just think to yourself, what's the dumbest thing that someone could possibly do in this situation, and just anticipate that, because you will see it. Okay. This is kind of step-by-step instructions for negotiating an intersection. Video isn't available anymore.
That's actually a really cool video. Very helpful.
Been awesome. We'll fix it.
Okay, so again, distracted drivers. They're going to be on their cell phones. They're going to be looking at themselves in the mirror, doing some last-minute touch-ups to their makeup, disciplining their kids, whatever the case may be. I'll just touch on blind spots real quick. It's a good idea to not just sit there in somebody's blind spot. All right, and especially in West Sedona, multiple lanes. It's not like you're going to be able to drive without a vehicle right next to you. But with that said, you want to be planning if something does go wrong, you want to be forecasting down the road. Don't just be looking at the cars directly around you, be looking ahead, anticipate cars pulling out, anticipate, people are here on vacation, they don't know where they're going, they're kind of in la la land, they're listening to their navigation. Yeah, I've seen people switch across all lanes of traffic. I've seen people, from lane 1, which is quote unquote the high speed lane, they'll make a right turn across traffic. I mean, they do amazing things. So just plan for that and just be thinking about what you're going to do. This slide specifically, if you see a vehicle ahead of you that's kind of not really paying attention, you see the car drifting, give them a little bit of space. Just anticipate why is their behavior going to change? Well, it's not. You don't want them to come into your lane. Then you have no options. What we were just talking about. Thread the needle, right?
Nailed it. 67.
I actually just saw this on Highway 69 in Prescott. A Dodge Caravan exceeding what I thought was possible for a Caravan to go on in speed. I'm not trained in visual estimation, but I was going 45. This thing passed me like I was standing still, and it was right up by the shopping center that they have there with the movie theater and everything else. And yeah, it was a red light, and I fully prepared myself to see the fatality. The van I never even saw the brake lights, and cross traffic is going, and the thing blew right through the red light, this exact scenario. And I was thinking about, in that split second, like, okay, I'm off duty. Where can I position my truck off the roadway? I'm going to need to get out and start assessing people. And I continued driving west on the 69. I don't know where the van went. I was anticipating like coming up on a collision though. You're gonna see that. Okay, so this absolutely impacts us, right? We're going to be fatigued. A lot of us commute from far away. I've got a 2-hour commute. You're tired. Statistically, if you've been running on low sleep, you are impaired. If you're operating an ambulance, you're going to be up in the middle of the night. There could be other impaired drivers on the road. At the least, they're going to be fatigued. Be aware.
Four drivers are sleeping. Read the bottom of that real quick.
So just like it says at the top, when you drive drowsy, your driving is impaired, just like if you drove drunk. So reaction time is slowed. Some tips: if you feel fatigue, you can dim the dash lights. That's why all the apparatus, even your own POV, you've got the ability to turn your dash lights down. It's less draining on your eyes, and then just keep your eyes scanning. Right? Scan your side mirror, scan your, well, in a lot of our apparatus, you could look at the rear view mirror, but you can't, you're going to see the patient compartment, right? But just be attentive, keep your eyes moving, stay alert, dim the dash lights, that can help.
When you are on the ambulance, you will be up and we will run a day. And if there are transports to Phoenix, That is one of the more dangerous things that we do. Because at 2 o'clock in the morning, who's coming home from where? Cars, right? And that's when we're driving somewhere. So be very cautious. And if you're up all night, even as a booter, do not be afraid to say, Captain, can I take a quick shut-eye? I've been up all night. Because nobody wants to see us get an accident. So far, we've been accident-free, thanks to the previous instructor, the most great, not late yet, Captain Kurtz.
He's very, yeah,
Stand up, Kurtz, give a speech.
Yeah.
He's humble right now.
He's very passionate. Listen, I've been in a situation with a wrong way driver on an off ramp in Phoenix. We're coming back from PCH, getting ready to go on the on ramp to get back on the 51, and there's 3 lanes that merge, into one lane on that on ramp, and light turns green. The center lane between us and the other car is open, so we're in the right lane. There's a car in lane 1. We're starting to go up the on-ramp, and here we see headlights. And there's Jersey barriers on both sides. There's nowhere to really bail out. And the car to our left kind of ducked off the left side shoulder. We just nosed as far as we could to the right side, and that wrong way driver went the opposite way. So it happens. I think everybody's aware of what Timber Mesa experienced just months ago. Like Engineer Fisher said, it is dangerous, but it's a part of what we do, and we just need to be aware. Don't get complacent. Pay attention and plan it out, right? I think one of the challenges with wrong way drivers, the statistics are we're on the highway and we're going to be in the left lane, right? As emergency operators, we always travel in lane 1, the far left lane. Well, statistically, the wrong way drivers are thinking they're doing a good thing staying in the far right lane, but that puts up them in our lane when they're coming at us. So, and I'm not going to get into all the math, but if you're in an ambulance traveling 70 miles an hour, the wrong way drivers traveling 70 miles an hour at you, you're going to close the distance extremely quick. You have just a little bit of time to make a decision.
Obviously, no one on a new vehicle.
If it's egregious, we can get on the radio, right, to dispatch and alert them. Just stay away from the vehicle. If you think somebody's impaired, just don't get near it. Don't try to pass it. Be safe. Why we check the rigs when we get on shift. This is why we want to do it daily. Get in the habit when you're responding to a call. Take a look under the apparatus. Look at the tires. Something stuck in the duals. Tire pressure is important. We maintenance the apparatus here really good. The shop is generally busy. But what we're talking about is everybody else's vehicles on the road, right? Specifically, it's like, if you ever wonder, like, how do people do with maintaining their own cars when it's raining, just take a look at the parking lot of like AutoZone or O'Reilly's. Everybody has to bump in there to get windshield wiper blades, right? It's like you don't realize you need windshield wiper blades until it rains. Well, if that's how they are treating their windshield wipers, who's to say that they're being that aware with the tread on their tires, with their braking system, with the other routine maintenance? So just keep that in the back of your head.
How do we check for bald tires?
Tread depth gauge.
Do any of us have one? There's also indicators on the tires themselves. you don't have one, just look at the tire. There's indicators inside the tread or on the sidewall.
Wear bars are between the treads, and then the indicators to tell you where the wear bar is. Little Michelin man, a tiny little figure of a Michelin man.
Who
Or
has
a
enough
triangle.
money for that?
It's built into their crust, but you'll see it, right? So if you're trying to check the tread depth on the apparatus, you can look at that. It'll either be a triangle or a Goodyear symbol or a little Michelin man. And that's where you can look right in that tread depth, right above that is where there'll be a wear bar. Depth.
We've touched on what this slide is telling you. It's just about forecasting and planning. Getting into a little bit of unsafe acts, unsafe conditions. Not everybody slows down when the weather is adverse. As professional driver operators, you always want to be thinking, okay, what if this scenario unfolds, what am I going to do? You got to be thinking ahead. You got to be engaged, actively driving, right? Not just going through the motions, not being complacent. You'll see this with newer drivers, aiming high in the steering. If you guys have got kids, my kids are adults now, but I do remember driving with them. If you haven't had the joy of experiencing driving with your child when they're 15 and a half and they think they know it all, bring some antacids with you, but they just look right over the hood of the vehicle. And even at 30 or 40 miles an hour, they're like weaving in between the lines. That's because they're not scanning ahead or your vehicle's out of alignment. But when you scan ahead, you're looking a block or two down the road. It also notes, quarter mile. We talked about maintaining your eye movement, having a mental picture of the footprint of your apparatus you're driving and what vehicles are around you. When you're looking in your side mirrors, you see a vehicle coming up. Vehicles are going to pass us on the right. It's going to happen. This afternoon, you guys will really get a good picture of the footprint of your apparatus as you're going to be navigating the cone course. That'll be at slower speeds. And then the last bullet point on there, leaving it out. So that just like in that slide that we saw, it was either Australia or New Zealand, where it looked like a Type 3 came up, brought that back tire off of the ground. They didn't leave themselves out, right? They were following too close. So
a lot of times where that comes into play is when you're not responding to a call and you're at a traffic light. That's one of the reasons that we drive in that lane one or the fast lane, is so that we have an out if we get a call. So when you're in the AMBO, don't butt up right next to the car that stopped at the red light. Give yourself enough distance that you can safely get out without having to push them into the intersection to force them out of your way in order to get around them.
When you stop in your apparatus, a good rule of thumb is if you can see pavement in between yourself and the vehicle in front of you, then you should have enough room at a dead stop to crank your wheels to the left and get out of that position. But if you're pulled forward so far that you can't see any of the blacktop or you can't see the tires of the vehicle in front of you and you're just like looking at the rear, either trunk or the rear window of the car, you're too close. So we talked about staying out of blind spots. Signaling's a good one. Don't always rely on that. And this intersection out here is a perfect example. When we're going to be pulling out to make either a left or a right turn here on 89A, you're going to see a lot of vehicles in that second lane. So the curve lane, they're going to have their right turn signal on. And you may presume that they're just gonna turn right on the street that you're on, but a lot of them are planning to go to the gas station, right? And they just have their turn signal on early. Or they just forgot to turn their turn signal off. So don't always just presume that, hey, they got their turn signal on, they're gonna be turning. The second point we already talked about, people are here on vacation, not a care in the world. They're following their navigation. They're not paying attention. The person that is riding in the passenger seat may be an outstanding backseat driver, telling them to turn late, and they may not even signal. When you're the lead vehicle at an intersection, none of our apparatus are gonna be setting any lane speed records off the line. It's you can take off slower, but you could also give like a car length before the crosswalk, if that makes sense, so that when you do start to proceed forward, when the light turns green, if anyone is running that red light, the idea is that you would miss them. Pedestrians darting across the crosswalk. When vehicles are at a standstill, it's legal for motorcycles to drive in between the lanes. So you're not always going to see them. That's why even at a stoplight, you know, going to and from a call, people in the cab are going to be talking. If you're the operator and you want everybody to be quiet, tell them. Right? Everyone that's in that apparatus has a responsibility. That's another set of eyes. And even at a stoplight, be looking at your mirrors and see what's going on. But the motorcycles, I mean, they're up on you in a hurry. So another component to deal with. Safety cushions can be difficult. I live down in the valley. I like to give myself a safety cushion. And if you've got 20 feet of a safety cushion, I'm just picking like an arbitrary number, and a passenger vehicle is 12 to 15 feet long, they're just going to get in there, you know. You just constantly have to expand your safety cushion. Like, it's okay. People are going to do some nutty things. They cut in front of engines, they cut in front of the ambos to race you to the next red light, right? We've all seen it. It's okay. Just slow down a little bit more. Always be maintaining your safety cushion. Always be cognizant of that. Two 412 rule. This is in our policy.
So
I think 2 seconds is close.
So
I mean,
calculating stopping distance, we'll just go over that because that is important for you guys to know,
Almost
especially
like a test question.
you three today. So calculating stopping distance is 1 foot for every 10 feet of vehicle length under 40 miles an hour. So if you have a 12-foot vehicle, you always round it up. So it's over 10, so you'll add that second, so it'll be 2 seconds, right? Under 40 miles an hour. Once you go over 40 miles an hour, it's the same calculation, you just add 1 second at the very end. So, and our engines are 30 feet, we'll say, so 3 seconds distance under 40 miles an hour. If you go over 40 miles an hour, you add 1 more second, so it'd be 40 or 4 seconds. Does that make sense? 1 second for every 10 feet of vehicle length, you round up.
whatever the math is, if the road's wet or icy, you double it. Engineer Fisher talk about this? Taking your back off the seat is the best way. You can feel it.
When you're accelerating, you should never hit the passing gear. That makes sense. It should never downshift. So like when you're starting off, you shouldn't hit the accelerator hard enough that it has to go to a lower gear. Because that shift is going to throw people in the back.
A lot of times as a medic, I want to be seated, buckled in. But there are events that occur where you have to punch the time card as a medic and you're up moving around back there. And as the driver, just be aware. You know, there's grab handles. It's just not fun to be thrown around. You know, and the patients can feel it too. So as an ambulance driver, if you notice that you're having to clean up a lot of throw up on a normal basis, that could be your indicator. Communication methods that we have: eye contact, hand signals. As an engineer, I'm using hand signals a lot. Like appropriate ones, right? You're waving people by, they're looking at you, you make eye contact, you wave, pedestrian, wave another car to go. If it's a four-way stop, it's okay.
In a matter of seconds.
Oh my god, it was like a roller coaster.
The question now is whether it will be a roller coaster that keeps steadily climbing upward. Tesla has yet to prove that it can deliver on higher production targets while also meeting quality and service expectations.
Tesla has never had a particularly good reputation for quality and reliability for the cars that they've built to date, for the Model S and the Model X.
See what happened there? So this vehicle's pulling over. You got an engine coming code 3. Vehicles can see it. They're pulling over. Engines in the center lane. They don't appear to be going too fast. This vehicle right here, this is the exact scenario I was talking about. They're in lane 1 and they're not paying attention. They're probably just looking at oncoming traffic. I mean, we're just presuming. But they don't see the engine coming. I started it over, sorry. So here comes the engine. And that car just turned right in front of them. So low speed impact, but now that engine's, whatever they were responding to, that engine's out of the game. Get back into some physics. So this is kind of what Engineer Fisher was talking about when you're entering a turn. You don't want to apply the brakes in a turn because you're going to transfer that weight. Centrifugal force is going to transfer that weight in the direction you're originally going. That is going to translate exponentially into the back patient compartment. So the loop road is going down here on 89A South on the way to Cottonwood. In between the loop roads is a great example. And the posted speed limit through that section is 55 miles an hour. I personally have had instances where I was driving and didn't time my turns great, hit the brakes in the turn, and I could hear the feedback from the patient compartment with the medic that was back there. And it feels crummy because you're not wanting to do a bad job, but just slow down going into the turn, accelerate through the turn. You're doing a lot of positive things for the responsiveness of the apparatus that you're driving. You're keeping the suspension loaded. It's going to feel stiffer. It's not going to translate that centrifugal force back into the patient compartment. Just goes back to not driving like your personal vehicle. If you know your turn's coming up, look at the traffic. If you got to slow down a little bit, obviously we want to use our turn signals. A lot of times cars will let us over, but you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're having to execute a lane change at the last second, or get over real quick because you're going to make your turn. You want to plan ahead. You may have some instances where this applies, but I just not going to really recommend passing vehicles in this circumstance. I can think of Beaver Flat Road. If you're coming from the village going to Cottonwood, you may encounter a situation where you're going to execute a pass like this, but you got to think, even in an ambulance, you're not going to be able to, you're going to need a lot of space to do that. You're not going to be able to accelerate and just zoom around a car. If you're going to be smoothly pulling out of the lane and back into the lane, you need a lot of time, a lot of space to do it. It's better to just follow the car, and just take your time. And if you're going to go code 3, then you're going code 3 and you're requesting that vehicle yield the right of way to you, then you're going to execute that pass. I don't know that we have on our slide show, and I will touch on it because this is a change in the past year to a year and a half, couple of years, is when you're in an ambulance and you're transporting and you're going to go code 3, dispatch wants us to let them know over our radio communication that we're going to be transporting code 3. You could leave a scene and be transporting code 1, and the medic in the back of the patient compartment will say, hey, we need to bump this up to code 3. And then at that time, as the operator, you're going to get on the radio, you're going to clear dispatch, and you're going to inform them that you've now upgraded to code 3. Okay. This is a view in the chapel area, pretty common. You're looking approximately northbound on 179. This is Station 6 sees this view all the time. And it's tight. Cars they'll get over into that bike lane there on the right. You'll be able to get past them. I don't think that I've ever gone the posted speed limit doing that because it's super tight. So be cautious. Probably get some reps of doing this today on the cone course. I think if I want to go into this, there's times where you're going to back an ambulance into a parking spot like this. Not super common, and we'll go over this in the driver's hands-on portion. But our policy is anytime you're going to be backing an apparatus, you have a backer. Okay. I think the only thing I would speak to with this is it's different from your POV, and that the dimensions of the apparatus you're going to be driving are bigger, wheelbases are longer. There's going to be a delay between the inputs that you're doing to the steering wheel between when the apparatus is actually going to start moving in that direction. So just be aware of that. This is speaking to like turning into the appropriate lane. So if you look at the slide, the ambulance there that's going to be executing the left turn, you'll see that they're in lane 1, and then they execute their turn, and then they end in lane 1. You don't want to bleed into lane 2. All right. Set your turn up properly. If you're trying to make that left turn too sharp, then if you can imagine that there was a car on the left side of this intersection that's going to be going from left to right, they're not necessarily going to give you a buffer there right at the crosswalk. So in an attempt to avoid hitting that vehicle, now you're going to swing wide and bleed into lane 2, right, into the curb lane. So just make sure that you're coming out far enough in the intersection before you're executing your left turn. And then you want to end in lane 1. Just like the right turn, don't cut that corner. You want to come out far enough into the intersection and then make your right turn so that you're finishing your turn in lane 2. And, you know, this stuff seems pretty rudimentary, but again, you're not driving like a little sedan. It just takes to have a bigger wheelbase. And when you do this a couple times the wrong way, you're going to remember this and know exactly what I'm talking about.
Can you go back to that slide, please?
Sure.
Also, take into consideration that there is a statute for this. You have to turn into the nearest lane when at all possible. So if you were to get in an accident, say you're making that left turn and you turned into the slow lane or the far lane and got an accident, that would be your fault because you didn't follow the law on that specifically, nothing to do with our policy. Okay. Same thing with the right-hand turn. That's why it's showing you the proper way to make that turn. That's not us. That's just saying that this is the law. So I want to be clear on that.
There's a lot that could be happening at an intersection. Because as an operator, you want to clear all lanes of traffic, but you also have the crosswalks. Okay, you've got the corners there. I can think of that intersection of 89A and Forest and Uptown Station 4. You got people everywhere. On a holiday weekend, you'll have people right up on the curb. You may have people kind of standing in the crosswalk. You have to be very aware. And as the operator, it's your responsibility to proceed when safe to do so. You have to account for everything. Okay, lesson 5, operations and emergency mode. And then, so in our policy, you're going to see verbiage that speaks to changing your siren from wail to yelp mode as you approach an intersection. And you've got a couple different options on the apparatus. And basically just the theory is when you change the sound, that helps drivers hear that and know that you're coming. Two blasts of the air horn. Yeah, lots of blasts.
At least.
Yeah, lots of air horn blasts. We talked about clearing each lane. In Sedona, at our intersections here, you're going to see 2 lanes plus a turn lane that you'll need to clear. We don't pass on the right. It's pretty common for vehicles to pull to the left and stop. Or they have to get in there in that left lane and occupy that left lane because they're going to be making a left turn. So they can't conceive to go all the way to the right and stop. They want to like occupy their space. And so if I'm driving the engine code 3, if I'm only gonna be passing on the left, now I have to go into oncoming traffic. So you go real slow because you already have a high index of suspicion that this motorist is totally clueless on what they should be doing. So my index of suspicion goes way up because who knows what the heck they're gonna do. I'm anticipating them making a left turn. You know, at the last minute, they may, decide, hey, I shouldn't be in this left turn lane. Now they're gonna dart all the way across to the right. And what you can do as an operator is just go very slow and pass them with caution. The video. Yeah, I'm not seeing the place pictures.
That's not an actual video, that's a picture of it.
So the first bullet point we talked about, you don't want to be pushing vehicles off the road. We've got some one-way streets in Uptown, I believe, right? And the other one that is applicable here in West Sedona is that road that goes into Devil's Bridge. You guys will become intimately acquainted with responding to that trail. But when we're going in or out, we turn the overheads on as a way for, because it's like once traffic enters that section of road before they get to the parking lot of the trailhead, there are a couple turnouts, but the road is basically a one-lane road. And for passenger cars, they can kind of dodge each other, but in an engine, it's typically you're gonna have an engine, a trail rescue, an ambulance, you got a lot of apparatus. We'll just put the overheads on. Is basically we're just requesting that people get off the road. That's when you'll see that. We're going into some adverse conditions. We talked about the square inches, passenger tire versus a fire truck tire, overinflation, underinflation. You get crazy on air density when it's hotter during the day versus colder times of the season. This is why when it gets cold, you get in your passenger vehicle, you may see like a low tire pressure light come on. It's because when the temperatures drop, the air density in your tires change. Just be aware of that when you're coming on shift. This picture is going into a section of road we call the roller coaster. That's in between the Chapel area and the village of Oak Creek. And when you're going north on 179, there's a very specific turn that people do not prepare for. And when the road conditions are adverse, they go down that hill and try to execute that sweeping left turn too fast, and you'll see a tree that has been the receiver of said vehicles on multiple occasions. So you'll get to know different parts of town where this happens. Out here south of town on 89A, just coming up before the high school, I've been on multiple calls there when it's icy and foggy, where cars will just one after the other, they'll just slide right off the road. And it's not a good position to be in, because especially if it's fog, like you won't see anything and you hear a vehicle in the fog sliding and you're out running around trying to triage people. Just be mindful of the conditions. You want to keep the windshield clean. Come back from Phoenix, you're going to want some downtime, want to get some rest. That's cool. When you wake up, wash the windshield. Driving at night, you may not even be aware But then you get up during the day and you're driving and now you have a glare on the windshield. Keep your windshield clean. Talked about this, dim the dash and panel lights, reduce your speed. Just talked about keeping the windshield clean. Keep your eyes moving. If you're going to need to navigate a tight space, all the apparatus have scene lights. Learn how to turn those on, and always ask for help. You know, a lot of times you're not going to see an animal off the roadway, but you'll see its eyes, right? So you're going to be looking at, and when you're driving at night, I'm thinking specifically through the canyon, going up the flag, when you get up in the flats above the switchbacks, you know, a lot of animal, a lot of wildlife moving across that road at night. You're going to see their eyes. Speed, right? Following total braking distance, all that stuff. Okay. Just watch through the officer's field of vision with the headlights. On the left side, upper left, you can see the speed accelerating. Almost 70 miles an hour now.
I'm creating a call sheet right now. That's why I don't have y'all on it yet. Status update.
Man.
Call 317, go ahead.
Message sent.
Hey, Sarge. Can I just hit a kid on a bike? He's probably 27. I mean, or I know he is. Yeah, 2600 Beltline. It's just past Kleberg. All right. I won't.
So we don't know all the circumstances to this video, and I'm not gonna armchair quarterback it. We can see that initially this unit was not going code 3. We don't know what their department policies are, if it was responding to a call. I mean, at the end of the day, we can see that he was going 70 miles an hour at one point. And we're dealing with a loss of life now, right? So with that said, there's going to be sections of our district that are not well lit. Okay, Sedona is a dark sky community. Even when they do put up street lights, it has to meet the requirements to keep it a dark sky community. This predates Engineer Moore and myself a little bit. Engineer Fisher may have been around, but years ago there were no street lamps on 89A here, and the community actually fought ADOT to put the street lamps in. but they were dealing with multiple fatalities every year from pedestrians crossing 89A right out here. So this is a real scenario. A few years back during the COVID quarantine, I don't know the exact statistical data, but I want to say at least 1,500 people were camping south of Sedona, off of 89A by the water treatment plant. You know, and you have people, we have a homeless population, you got people walking around late at night, they could be impaired. So just understand that based on the speed that you're going, you may be out driving your headlights and what you can see visually. So just, you know, be aware of that. So as you know, you guys are probationary firefighters. And that's fine, but you're going to be operating an apparatus and it's your job to make sure that you're doing it safely. So it's absolutely appropriate if you've got a passenger in the vehicle with you that's not paying attention, they're on their cell phone. As an engineer, you know, it's the captain's seat where they're seated in the apparatus isn't always the most comfortable. They may have their arm up, blocking some mirrors. Sometimes company officers will be on their cell phone, and it's up to you as the operator to make sure that everybody's paying attention and helping you out. That's what team driving is about. Because like Engineer Moore brought up the vicarious liability component, it's no different than when we're on scene, right? As responders in a medical emergency, if something doesn't go right or a complaint is filed, it doesn't just fall on the paramedic, the charge medic. You know, everyone is gonna be deposed and ask questions, and it's no different when we respond to and from. Anytime we're driving a district vehicle in our district, out of the district, across the country, you want everybody that's in that apparatus with you to be paying attention and helping you out. So the first bullet point, I just want to clarify, this is talking about when you're backing. The position of the backer is going to be on the driver's side rear of the apparatus. There's also times where you could have a backer behind the apparatus on the passenger side. The proper way to do it is to always keep looking at your driver's side mirror at your primary backer, and the other backer on the passenger side, if he sees something, is going to alert the primary backer, and then the primary backer will give you the appropriate hand signal to stop or make a directional change. There are instances I can think of when I'm driving an engine that my captain will spot on the front of the apparatus. And, you know, when I'm backing, I want my headset off. I've got the windows down because I can hear my backer in the front audibly giving me direction. If you take your eyes off of the side mirror, even at idle, and look to the mirror on the right and then back to your mirror, we're talking just in a second, that apparatus will have traveled about 10 feet at idle. So, and now you're moving 40,000 pounds. We have different case studies. There's firefighter Bradley Harper was crushed between a Type 1 apparatus and his ambulance responding to a mulch fire while he was trying to get turned out. And I haven't read specifically everything about that study, but I do know that they did not use a backer when that incident occurred. So we're always going to use a backer, and there are instructions if we don't have a backer, what we're going to do. If there's not a slide that covers it, we'll go over it in the hands-on portion this afternoon.
Go over which factor when there's multiple.
Yeah, yeah, just talk about that. Rain and fog, just real quick, if you haven't driven in fog before, high beams don't help you. If you haven't driven in snow before, high beams don't help you. That's why they have fog lights. They're positioned lower and they give you increased range of visibility. But I just experienced this a couple days ago driving to work, a lot of fog. At times everybody around me, including myself, would slow down to 45, 50 miles an hour. You have to drive safely for the road conditions that you're facing. In fog, if you have to pull over and park, you ideally avoid that. But if you have to do it, turn your lights off, because in fog, a lot of times vehicles are going to be following taillights. Putting your emergency flashers on doesn't really help you either, because a lot of other motorists will drive with their hazards on. So if you have to pull off to the side of the road, make sure all your lights are off, make sure your foot's off the brake pedal. You don't want any other motorists to zoom in and rear end you thinking that you're still moving. Being that we're the professional drivers with the state statutes and driving with due regard, you can just count on any collision that we're involved in. It's going to be our fault, okay, unless we're parked and somebody strikes us. Okay, so we have a higher level of training. They've even moved away from the term accident. It's a collision, it's a crash. When you march back the events leading up to that collision, they're going to find a way that was avoidable. So don't put yourself in a situation where you think, oh, I had no other option here. We've got a configuration of cones at the driving course where we do an offset, where you're accelerating through an offset and turning. That's crash avoidance. You guys will get an opportunity to do that either today or when we do the annual refresher. Here's an example of things that could happen. Difficult to plan for. You're driving down the road thinking of all these things that could potentially happen. It's good to just kind of revisit that in your mind of what you would do. But some of these things are really tough to plan for. I would say when you're gonna check the apparatus, say if it's Monday and you're doing ambo checks, I think traditionally it seems like it's the EMT or the operator of the ambulance that's like doing the under hood checks of all the fluids and everything else. But this is a really good time, if you didn't do it and you're driving or you're responsible for that apparatus, to make sure that hood is latched appropriately. That wouldn't be fun, driving down the road at 60 and the hood flies up.
That's good, Dave.
Oh yeah, I guess I was like, damn it.
Not here.
That was a long time ago.
I don't want to get into it.
Okay, lesson 6. You guys good? Sure. Someone take over?
Me, go ahead. You're all over. You already did. Yeah. I did, yeah.
For training.
Yeah.
You can ask Isaiah what it's like to drive a vehicle on fire.
That also happened. Special configuration.
You take the pen? Oh, it's on top. We're all comfortable with calculating following distance? Stopping distance? Yeah, that's your I got it face. That's okay.
We'll find out.
Yeah. We're muted this whole time. You guys still good? Need a break? Water? Lunch? No? All right. Keep going. That's challenges. Is everyone comfortable with all these? I've had situations, we're good. That's it. Some distance away, right? Uphill, upwind. Down power lines. How far away should we be from them? Depending on the size, I would be as far away as we should be, right? To keep other people away, 40 to 100 feet, depending on the size of the line, power line. Violent acts. There's a mass shooting going on at the high school, God forbid, not kidding. How far away are we? Safe zone, right? We should be in a safe zone, cops going first. So safety is the biggest thing. Everyone's pulled over already. What's he need to do? Clear lanes. There's a red line. Questions with intersections? Where do the highest percentage of code 3 accidents occur?
Intersections.
Intersections. What do we need to clear before traveling through an intersection?
All lanes.
All lanes. Watch for distracted drivers. Eye contact is a good thing. Why do we avoid passing on the right? While driving code 3. How's that? While driving code 3, why do we avoid passing on the right?
We're asking permission from the pull to the right.
Yeah, going the way that they are supposed to pull. So if you have to, go in the left lane oncoming traffic. Okay. The most dangerous oncoming traffic I can think of while driving code 3 is up the canyon. We've got a lot of blind curves. Be very cautious. What should we do when driving code 3 through a school zone?
Turn off our lights and sirens and
Speed limit. What if there's cops driving code 3 while we're driving code 3? What do we do? What do we do?
If they're trying to pass it, let them go.
Yeah, let them go. Let them do whatever they want to do. They're way fast than us. Just let them go. Slow down, move over, let them go, continue on. Whatever we need to do, let them go because they're way faster than us. And I dare to say batshit crazy. Okay? They will do whatever they need to do. They don't care. We are much bigger, so they can go way faster. Let them go. Kidding, they're not batshit crazy. We all know what priority traffic is. What's priority traffic? I'll let everyone at home discuss. We'll pause here for the video. Welcome back. What's priority traffic? Who calls it?
Anybody?
We do, right? So what is it? What's it mean?
Letting alarm know that we have a situation that needs our attention.
Anything, right? What if we see something move on the roof while someone's interior for a fire attack? An emergency or priority? Priority. What if we see our guy right next to us fall down the hose? What's that? Faded, right? Okay, those are the only two we call. We do not call emergency traffic. Only one we call emergency traffic is icy. So if we do come up to an accident, what should we do? We are driving code 3 with a patient. We see an accident. What do we do?
Stop, clear alarm. Come back, say, ambulance 541 priority traffic. Clear us back, say, ambulance 541's on scene at 89A, mile marker 370. Two vehicle, T-bone style collision.
I mean, that's a pretty good radio.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do as the EMT or medic in the ambulance with a patient in the back driving code 3? What do we do? What are our choices?
If it's a BLS patient, the medic can drop down to the BLS provider and provide ALS triage. And then if it's an ALS patient, the BLS provider will have to do triage, so I can't leave my patient.
And what if the patient's critical?
Patient in the handbook, continue on.
Or should we notify on scene before we just drive by?
Call 911, units will be.
Well, we should priority traffic, but let them know, right? Like, hey, we have a critical in the back and 911's on the way, we've already notified. Like, let someone on scene know that we didn't see it. Those are our 3 options, right? Stop and render aid, EMT, BLS, or ALS paramedic. Or we notify someone on scene and keep going. We still call priority traffic. What if we're the cause or in the incident? We hit or get hit by somebody.
Priority traffic.
Okay. And then do we render aid?
If aid is necessary and if the other party is acceptable to that aid.
Here's the liability question. Are you now causing the injury as well as diagnosing the injury? Right? So by all means, life-threatening, step in. If they can walk in and injured, right? Like, hey, call 911, they're coming. It's always a judgment call. Okay, questions?
Real quick. So just to help you guys out with radio traffic too, okay, and this is a little bit out of driver's training, but there's going to be times where you're driving the ambulance or you're going to go en route to the hospital or you're getting on scene at the hospital. If you hear emergency traffic, do not get on the radio, okay? If you have multiple units responding code 3 to like a code, a full code, or if they're going to a structure fire, there's been a lot of radio traffic on channel 3 associated with that structure fire. Just do yourselves a favor. Nobody wants to hear an ambulance cutting in over the radio talking about I'm at SEC and here's my ending mileage. Okay, you can make a note. You guys should all have access to call alarm on your cell phones. Okay, and you can let them know, hey, I arrived at the Sedona Emergency Center approximately 10 minutes ago. Here's my ending mileage. Okay, or you can go en route or at least wait until that traffic is done. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're cutting in the middle of an emergency response with like you going en route. You know what I mean? You can also communicate with your company officer. They can call alarm for you and let alarm know. You know, there's other people that can help you out. But I wanted to just kind of make a note of that because you will be faced with that at some point. And I didn't want you to think like, oh, what the heck should I be doing in this circumstance? You know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah, so any dispatch is not you. So if you're getting to SEC and
41 gets dispatched to a call, doesn't even matter what the call is, they get dispatched to a call. There's always gonna be the additional, right, after they go en route. So if you get in at the hospital at any point before that, before they go on scene, like, don't worry about it. Because you don't wanna cut off their additional where they could be dispatched to the Hyatt, which is right next to them. So the additional is super important to get early. You don't wanna cut that off. So it doesn't matter what the call is. If there's another unit getting dispatched, wait till after the additional. If it's close and they go on scene, wait till they go on scene. Don't cut any of that off. It's perfectly okay. And that's what we want you to do. Write it down, wait till later, and then let alarm know. Cool.
Questions? Oh, look, we nailed that. If there's one good way to get rid of your job here is to lie. So be honest. You can do almost anything. Almost. Just don't lie about it. What are the 3 numbers you need to memorize per policy? 3 numbers. Speed limits. 3 numbers. I'll give you one. 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Driving through intersections. To our policy right now states what? Stop. Stop. The green light, driving code 3. How slow do we go? 20? 15. And then third one is 20. What's 20?
The median.
I'm sorry?
The median.
Oh. Yes, driving oncoming traffic. 10, 15, 20. 20 miles when driving in opposing traffic. 15 through intersections, driving code 3, and it's green. 10 miles an hour, so over the speed limit is what you're allowed. Those 3 numbers, all you have to remember. It's 10, 15, 20.
So real quick to tag on to that, because, and even everybody that's at the stations listening to this right now, the 15 miles an hour through an intersection with a green light always kind of brings up questions, okay? And the reason that the policy is written that way is because, number one, you're more likely to get in a traffic collision responding code 3 where? Intersection, right? And when you're blazing through the intersection going code 3, even at the speed limit, you could be causing other drivers to do things erratic in that intersection, is what the justification is for our policy stating 15 miles an hour, even if you're going code 3 through an intersection where you have a green light, so you have the right of way. And when you really drill down on it, you're going slower at that point, code 3, than you would be if you were going code 1. And the trigger point for that is that you've got both your visual and audible warning devices on, and we can't control what other motorists are going to do in that intersection. So that's why the policy is written that way. And it's a little confusing, and even employees that have been here for many years are confused when they hear that. You know what I mean? It brings up a lot of questions. So I just wanted to kind of preemptively clear that up.
That's our current policy. If you don't follow it, who's breaking policy? Whose fault is it? The second we turn on those code 3 lights, it's called the liability button. Who's breaking the law? I am. I'm moving into oncoming traffic. I'm blowing through the speed limits. Like, I'm in trouble if anything happens. So just understand that.
How this works when it all shakes out is we are entrusted with protecting community, and we have to make split-second decisions during an emergency response that may be right or wrong, based on law, based on policy. But those are the standards that we're held to, and you cannot reduplicate that environment in a courtroom, because when you're going to find yourself in a courtroom, many eyes have had opportunities to pore over what's the precedent that's been established, what do the department policies say, what does the state law say. These lawyers know it inside and out. Okay, and then they depose everyone. Then they're going to use the reasonable man test, right? What would an individual similar training in a similar circumstance do? Well, we have Phoenix Volume 2 policies up there to show you that we're following the norm. You know what I mean? A lot of departments, you grab somebody from down in Phoenix and you bring them in as an expert witness, they're going to mirror a lot of stuff that we're talking about. So, and just like Engineer Fisher has stated and Engineer Moore has stated, and I'll tell you, when you get out, released into the wild, so to speak, with your specific crews, you're going to see infractions of policy. You're going to see crews that do quote unquote soft code 3 in the middle of the night, or otherwise known as code 2. They're going to drive through the neighborhood with only their lights on, to respect the citizens that are sleeping. And that's fine. Like I can understand that. But at the end of the day, you're operating the apparatus. Per policy, we either drive code 1 or code 3. So if it's 2 a.m. and there's not that many cars on the road anyways, why are we going code 2? You know what I mean? If you're going to shut the siren off, you shut the lights off as well. The other, well, I won't go into that. I'll just leave it at that.
What forces should you consider while entering a term?
Some
Forces. Centrifugal. What are all drivers need to check before putting the apparatus in drive? What should you do if you see a bus stop while lights are on and the sign out while driving code 3? How do you calculate following distance?
1 second for every 10 feet.
Below what speed limit?
40.
Over?
1 second.
How do you calculate total stopping distance?
Perception, reaction, and then distance of time to stop.
Stopping distance.